What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA. Of course, we're just getting the NBA regular season kicked off. Officially got kicked off last night, Tuesday night, with the Phoenix Suns and the Warriors playing, as well as the Lakers and the Nuggets. We had the Nuggets and the Warriors the Suns coming away with the dubs last night to kick the season off. And yeah, great start to the NBA season. Devin Booker had a night. Obviously, the Nuggets come out. They look like a well-oiled machine against what we believe to be an NBA contender to start the season in the LA Lakers. So it was great to see that kick off. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to just get the individual player award predictions out of the way. I wanted to make sure I get those out to you because I do have some surprises in my picks. I know it may be too late to go ahead and lay those futures. May not be, depending on which sports book you use. But I got odds written down here. They may have changed with the action that's taken place, any new injuries, but nonetheless, I wanted to get the predictions out there so that they're out there in the air. That way, when I reflect at the end of the season, everybody knows where I stood from the beginning. It's just a way to hold myself accountable, even if we can't lay these down in the sports books right now. Before we get started here, of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Scotty Talks NBA channel. It's part of the DSM Media family of podcast channels here on YouTube. Obviously, we had to split the channels up just so we could focus the audience in. So any NBA fans out there, Sixers fans, of course, always welcome. But NBA fans in general, welcome on the page. Welcome to the page. And I'm going to try to be as non-biased as I can as a Philadelphia sports fan. Obviously, you can see my attire, the background. My focus with the NBA, basketball is my favorite sport to cover. It's my favorite sport to talk about. And it is the sport where I can be the most unbiased as possible because I do just appreciate the game itself. So NBA fans of all kinds, be sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video if you like the content, and share your thoughts. Who is your MVP? Who are your candidates? Who's your most improved player coming into this season? Who are your guys to watch out for? In this whole season, we'll be going through it. I'll keep you guys covered on what's going on around the league. We'll have an episode every week, once a week, Tuesdays. Scotty Talks NBA Tuesdays. That's my natural time, and then occasionally I'll do some specials depending on the time of year. Probably the in-season tournament, All-Star weekend. Obviously, we'll dial it up as the season goes on, and I'll give you a better idea of what we're going to be covering. But nonetheless, every Tuesday at 6 p.m., you'll see Scotty Talks NBA air on this channel. And we'll just do a weekly update of what's going on around the league. But with that being said, I did just want to touch on this James Harden situation before we get into the player award predictions. Obviously, today, if you haven't seen it by now, Shams tweeted out, after 10 days away, James Harden has reported back to the Philadelphia 76ers for practice today. Sources tell The Athletic. This is quite surprising given that the Sixers play their first game in Milwaukee tomorrow night against Giannis and Dame. And obviously, James Harden comes today, the day before they're about to head out to Milwaukee to play the Milwaukee Bucks tomorrow night. And he wants to travel with the team, maybe not play, but travel with the team. According to Shams, shortly tweeted after the arrival of James Harden after 10 days, it says here, James Harden returned to Philadelphia on Tuesday night with his bags packed to join the team on the road for Thursday versus the Bucks and Saturday versus the Raptors, but the 76ers have now asked him to not travel with the team. So this is big, right? Does that mean that he's getting traded soon? Obviously, they've been working nonstop. I'm sure Daryl Morey's been on the phones trying to get this guy off the team and end this distraction, but he's not going to do it. He's a hard-nosed GM. We know how Daryl Morey operates. He's always star hunting, or he's looking for assets in order to obtain another star. I've been of the camp that I don't think you need to get another star back for James Harden. I think one or two role players that could fit around Maxey and Embiid and Tobias Harris a little bit better. I think you get that. That's more than worth it for me. At the end of the day, it was nice having James Harden on the team last year. He's a 20-10 guy, right? 20 points, 10 assists, led the league in assists last year. Great on the offensive end when he's engaged and wants to play and is feeling competitive. But the problem is that those juices aren't flowing throughout the playoffs. He will disappear from time to time. And I'm under the belief that if you get 1 to 2 role players that can consistently give you, say, 10 points, maybe 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and then another one give you 11 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, that might just be better than Harden's like ridiculously low floor when he disappears in the postseason. He's great in the regular season, keeping you float, be consistent, get into the All-Star game, all of that jazz, right? Put up the numbers. But when you get into the toughest moments of the season in the postseason, he is nowhere to be found. And I will say this, that's not to say that Joel Embiid is this guy that is to be found. He needs to step up and improve himself. And what I would say at this point is that you just can't afford to have 2 guys like that on the same team between James Harden and Joel Embiid. And I am under the belief that Tyrese Maxey is ready to ascend into that all-star type of level for the Sixers in Harden's absence. So all the way the right move. I just, I don't think that this stuff is going to end soon. I think it's going to take an injury around the league, causing somebody to get desperate, like the Clippers, the Bulls, maybe. Maybe the Bulls realize they're not competing. Then they try to get desperate, maybe move Levine. Maybe that's where you see Harden shipped out and Daryl Morey willing to let go of him. But man, just always something, right? He was away for 10 days due to personal reasons. There's a lot of rumors about his mother being ill. Definitely, if that is true, wishing all the best to Mama Harden, and definitely never gonna wish no ill will in that type of facet. Basketball is certainly not bigger than life in that aspect. So if he's dealing with that, wishing him the best, sending blessings and prayers for that. But at the same time, why does he deserve the benefit of the doubt after what we've seen throughout the offseason, throughout his career, strip clubs, so on and so forth? And to that point, it is what it is. I really don't care. If it is his mother being sick, that's fine. Whatever. Deal with what you got to deal with. And I send you blessings towards that. But as far as getting a benefit of the doubt from me, nah, I'm good on it. But we'll see. Season kicks off tomorrow for the Sixers. We'll see what happens. And if we get any further updates on Harden being moved, anything like that, Harden gets moved, I will be on here live to let you guys know what I think about it, of course. But let's get into these player award predictions for the season. I have DraftKings odds for each award that we're going to go over here. And kind of where I sit, which players I think are going to ultimately win these awards or compete for these awards. So let's start with sixth man of the year. We're not going to start at the more intriguing awards, right? Like MVP, most improved player. Let's go sixth man of the year here. And this one's interesting because we still need to see how it plays out as far as players ending up actually coming off the bench. Like, I know Derek White plus 1,300 to win sixth man of the year. Does he actually come off the bench? Do they start Al Horford in place of him? Do they go with a smaller lineup with him starting? That'll be interesting to see. I ultimately think they go the route of starting Al Horford next to Kristaps Porzingis. I think defensively that helps them a lot. And then Derek White can come off, be your spark plug, similar to what Malcolm Brogdon was for them last season, right? Sixth man of the year last year. Emmanuel Quickly, he's an obvious candidate, plus 800. He's the favorite coming into this season for the New York Knicks. Obviously not going to start above Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Josh Hart. That's going to be their 3 up top. So Emmanuel Quickly, an obvious candidate there that I like. Malcolm Brogdon, does he end up starting as a veteran presence for the Portland Trailblazers? Do they start? I would imagine they have to start Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simon. So I would imagine Malcolm Brogdon wouldn't actually start for them. So he's an obvious candidate at plus 800. Norman Powell is the third favorite here based on DraftKings. Playing for the Clippers. Obviously, he could be moved if they ever do make a move for James Harden. And he would still, again, be a six-man candidate for the Sixers. So I do like him at plus 1,000. But we'll see. I would say my top 3 coming into this season would be number 3, Malik Monk. I love his option at plus 1,100 for Sacramento. You look at Malik Monk last year, 77 games played, 13 and a half points per game, 4 assists per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, shot 45% from the field and 36% from the 3-point line. What I'm looking up now, because the reason that I'm so intrigued at picking Malik Monk for this six man of the year award this season is not just because of what he did last year in the regular season, obviously playing 77 games, but in the postseason is where he really took off. You saw him step up sometimes in a role having to take the lead guard role in certain positions. Ended up playing 30 minutes a game, 7 games played in the playoffs. He shot 40% from the field, not the greatest. 33% from the 3-point line. Once again, not the greatest, but he is a volume shooter. He was getting up 6 attempts a game. But the big thing here, he averaged 19 points per game in the playoffs, which shows you that he is available. He is ready in the big moments. Also added 5 rebounds, 3 assists in that time. So the numbers jumped up significantly. And I think if you're Sacramento and you see that, you bring Malik Monk back, you let him be that guy off the bench. You let him be that spark plug to a higher extent this year. That's why I ultimately like Malik Monk as the third best option, in my opinion, to win six man of the year. The second best, I would go with Emmanuel Quickly out of New York. He's one of the favorites, obviously, up there with Malcolm Brogdon of Portland. But Emmanuel Quickly, we look at him last year, 81 games played, 14.9 points per game, so 15 points per game, 4 rebounds. He added 3 assists, 45% from the field, 37% from the 3-point line. Once again, a volume shooter. And he plays this role significantly behind Jalen Brunson, whether that's to give him a break or whether to play combo guard with Jalen Brunson on the court at the same time. I expect him to come out once again, increase his efficiency, look a little bit even better getting to the rim, getting in the paint, and getting some buckets there with the floaters. But I think his role is not going to change much with this team, even with bringing in Dante DiVincenzo. If anything, it should open up the floor more for Emmanuel Quickly with that bench unit. So I like his chances. My number one favorite, as I mentioned earlier, Derek White. He is at plus 1,300 on DraftKings to win six man of the year. Once again, it is tricky because does he start some games? Does he come off the bench given Al Horford's age? He's not going to play all the games this season. Do they go a small ball type lineup with Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Jaylen Brown starting? Definitely a possibility right there, right? But I do think if they primarily bring him off the bench this upcoming season, he's going to be a candidate for the sixth man of the year. He's just steady. He's a spark plug, but he's a steady spark plug. He's a microwave that has a high floor, I would say. 82 games played last year, 12 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, 46% from the field, 38% from the 3-point line. Ultimately, I look at those numbers, right? That was with Malcolm Brogdon on the team. Now, that was with Derek White starting majority of the time last year. But I think with Malcolm Brogdon being shipped out, you bring Drew Holiday in, Marcus Smart shipped out. That means an increased role for Derek White, who was very impressive in the postseason last year for Boston. So I do like his chances for a very good Boston Celtics team. I think you look at the blueprint with Malcolm Brogdon last year, winning six man of the year with the Boston Celtics. Boom. That role opens wide open for Derek White this year, and I think he takes advantage of it. He's actually a player I really like as far as role players around the NBA. He plays good defense. He can score the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can play make. And he just plays hard. He plays consistent all the time. So Derek White would be my pick for sixth man of the year. Let's move to rookie of the year. I think this one is a little more clear cut now. I think you would give it to two guys, right? And I would say the favorites are Chet Holmgren, the second-year player, but just getting started for his actual rookie season since he missed his first year with injury. And then you have Victor Wembanyama. So pick your poison there. I would go with Victor just because of the talent. We saw it in preseason. I mean, the preseason numbers, guys. My God. Let me pull them up here. 19 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 1 assist per game, 1 steal, 3 blocks per game, 3 turnovers per game. He shot 51% from the field, 32% from the three-point line, and 86% from the free throw line. He showed just outside of the numbers, he showed signs of being able to get his own shot in the mid-range. He shot the ball well for a big man outside of the arc, given it's his first starts in the NBA. And I expect him to only get better over the season. His impact on the defensive end of the ball is going to be so significant and so noticeable on this Spurs team that I do think they have a pretty solid team around him as well, just to emphasize his talent. It won't be all the attention on Victor each and every time the Spurs step on the court. I think he has other guys like Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell that can take some of that attention away for him on that roster. So I do like Victor Wembanyama as the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Now, with that being said, Chet Holmgren playing with the Oklahoma City Thunder, playing beside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, all of these playmakers, he could be very impactful as well as in his rookie season, as well as on the defensive end. We know his shot blocking, his anchor in the middle type of prowess that he brings to a team. So he could very well be in this conversation. The only thing that I would give him, because I think Victor Wembanyama, he's one of these generational players. I think he will be the better player. I think what gives Chet a fair shake at a chance at winning this award is the fact that he plays on the Thunder, who could sleeper team. They could compete for a playoff spot. Maybe that factors in if Chet is kind of leading the way with SGA there for OKC. So that is a chance that I would give Chet, although I would go with Victor as the favorite here. My third sleeper, I guess you could say, would be Amen Thompson from the Houston Rockets. He's at plus 2,500. I like his game. And Rockets, another one of those sleeper teams where I think they can compete for something important here, whether that's a playoff berth, play-in berth, whatever the case may be. You look at Victor's odds, minus 125, so he is the overwhelming favorite. Scoot Henderson comes in number 2 at plus 240 out there in Portland. They just have a jumble of guards out there that I hope that they just give him all the opportunity in the world. But Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, Malcolm Brogdon, that's a lot of guards out there that you're going to have to move through and kind of try to figure out who you want to rotate in majority of the time there, who's going to be in at the end of games, different things there if they're trying to win games or just trying to get experience for their guys. But Scoot, I would put him maybe 4th or 5th as my favorite, although I like Amen Thompson ahead of him. Chet Holmgren comes in at plus 280 as the 3rd overall favorite according to DraftKings. But once again, Victor Wemby, he's going to be my favorite, my pick to win Rookie of the Year. Coach of the Year. Let's talk about coaches this year. I'll go through this fairly quickly because this pick is a little biased, right? My 3rd favorite to win Coach of the Year this year is Quinn Snyder down there in Atlanta. I know Atlanta didn't get off to the greatest start with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young pairing in the backcourt under Nate McMillan. But I do think they bounce back this year with a better coach than Quinn Snyder. I think he'll be able to get these guys set up correctly. They should be a pretty good defensive team, even with Trae Young's weaknesses on that side of the ball. You look at DeAndre Hunter, he can guard the perimeter. He's a lengthy guy, can space the floor. Obviously, Clint Capella. Oh my goodness. Who am I forgetting? Okongwu? Yeah, Okongwu, the big center that they just got a new extension for. So they got some guys with defensive prowess. Obviously, DeJounte Murray gets in the passing lanes. He can guard the best guard on opposing teams. I like Quinn Snyder because the East, there's room to grow in the East. There's room for the Hawks to rise up the ranks, maybe get a 6, 7 seed in the East. And with that type of turnaround, if they're looking good going into the postseason, I think Quinn Snyder could get some hype at plus 1,600. I think Adrian Griffin, you can either go to the easy contender route with Adrian Griffin, where he's a rookie head coach, but he's inheriting a championship contender. already built for him, right? Bringing in Dame Lillard to pair with Giannis to go along with the rest of that Milwaukee Bucks team. He's at plus 700. I think that's one of the easier picks if you wanted to go the safer route. Just given because the Bucks are going to be at the top of the East, whether that's the 1 or the 2 seed, maybe the best record in the NBA, one of the best odds at winning the NBA championship. So a lot of hype will come with Adrian Griffin. But who I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with the hometown guy. I'm going to go with Nick Nurse. And I know that may sound a little biased, maybe people don't believe in the Philadelphia 76ers to rise up enough to get Nurse in this conversation. I think with where I have the 76ers playing out, if you watch my episode from yesterday, I laid out my Eastern and Western Conference seedings, how I believe it will play out. I believe the Sixers are going to get the 3rd seed in the East. I think they are the 3rd best team, even with this hardened situation. I think people are sleeping on Tyrese Maxey. I think people are sleeping on Tobias Harris in an increased role under a competent head coach in Nick Nurse. And I think we're going to see a different side of Embiid, who's going to be more focused on getting his teammates involved, which is going to be huge for this Sixers team. But I think that all starts with Nick Nurse, and I think that's why I like him as my favorite to win Coach of the Year. Fresh start, obviously coming off a championship run, championship one, I should say, with the Toronto Raptors. He gets a fresh start in Philadelphia. Philadelphia gets a fresh start separated from Doc Rivers, and I think it's going to turn into something good. I think you're going to see Maxey rise in to all-star status. I think you're going to see Embiid stay in that MVP realm, and I think you're going to see the Sixers stay in the top 4 seeds of the Eastern Conference. And with the Harden drama taken into consideration as well, if whether that's having a hole on your team or having to give him up for peanuts, I think Nick Nurse having to work through that situation and keep this team afloat will ultimately play a factor in winning Coach of the Year. That's why I went with Nick Nurse at plus 1,000. So the next one that I want to talk about is the Defensive Player of the Year. This one's tough because there's a lot of great candidates. You obviously have Jaren Jackson the third at plus 450. He's the favorite to win it. Won it last year. But the thing with him, man, is the foul trouble in the games played. He's got to stay healthy and he's got to stay out of foul trouble. You got to be able to play. I honestly didn't agree wholeheartedly with him winning Defensive Player of the Year for those reasons last season. But nonetheless, he's still a hell of a defender. Number 2 favorite is Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's at plus 650. I like Evan Mobley. I love his ascension, the potential that comes with him this season for the Cavs. And I think he does get into the forefront of the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He would be number 2 on my favorites to win the award as well. And then Giannis comes in at number 3 as DraftKings' 3rd best favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year at plus 750. Giannis, we know what he can do in the defensive end. Playing behind Dame could make it a little bit more impactful. It could show up a lot more to the viewer's eye. Just playing behind Dame, who is a weaker defender, if Giannis can make up for that. The only reason that I'm not going with Giannis in my top 3 to win this award is Brook Lopez. You have good defenders behind Giannis, right? Brook Lopez was an anchor last year. Brook Lopez was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate last season. So I don't think with those two guys in the same unit that you can kind of give either one the right of way to that award. AD is a sleeper I like for this award for the Lakers. The question with him, health, will he play enough games? That's going to come down. That's what it's going to come down to for him. But he's at plus 1,000. As I mentioned, Evan Mobley would be my second favorite. My number 1 favorite to win the award, and it's a shame that he didn't win it last year. It's going to be Bam Adebayo for me for the Miami Heat at plus 900. I love what he does on the defensive end. He can do everything. He can guard you off the dribble. He can guard the paint. He can block shots. He's athletic. He rebounds. He can switch on to anyone and guard them in a serviceable manner, including guards, right? And that's why I like Bam Adebayo. He is the center of that Miami Heat defense. His versatility is what makes their defense so sturdy and so good. I like him at plus 900 to win Defensive Player of the Year. Bam Adebayo there. Shout out to him. Let's go to one of the more interesting awards, in my opinion, and one of my favorite ones that I want to call out this going into this season. That's the Most Improved Player award. So you look at the favorites for the award. According to DraftKings, you have Mikal Bridges as the favorite at plus 800. You have Tyrese Maxey, the number 2 favorite, at plus 1,000. And then you have Jordan Poole after the new trade to the Wizards plus 1,100, the third best odds to win Most Improved Player this season. My 3 favorites, I have 4 actually. I have 4 guys that I like for this award. Fourth being Franz Wagner. I apologize, I did not write down the numbers for Franz because he was a late ad for me. But you look at Franz Wagner, man, last year for the Orlando Magic, 18.6 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 49% from the field, 36% from the 3-point line. And I expect him to be better. I expect the efficiency to go up. You saw him playing, I believe it was for Germany this in this FIBA tournament. Looked really good playing with his brother over there. And I just think the Orlando Magic are one of those teams that is going to ascend this season, along with Paolo Banchero, who I don't think he'll be in the discussion just because he's a second-year player. He just won Rookie of the Year. So I don't think he's going to win Most Improved Player after winning Rookie of the Year. That defeats the purpose of the award. But I do think Franz Wagner could be that second star on that team that could get consideration for this award. If the Orlando Magic, maybe they can push for a play-in seed or for an 8 seed. You saw in Patrick Beverly pod, he talked about Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner being mentioned as top 50 players in the NBA. How are they not in the playoffs? How are they not a contender with 2 top 50 players? I think that's a good question. Hopefully these guys show ascension towards that mark this season. So Franz would come in at 4th here for me. Cade Cunningham comes in 3rd for this award for me at plus 1,300. I really like the odds of Cade bouncing back. I think it helps that he only played 12 games last year, believe it or not. Just bouncing back from that, I expect better talent around him. There's no expectations for this guy coming into this team of the Detroit Pistons. You get Monty Williams, who we saw what he was able to do with the Phoenix Suns to turn them around, and him just simply getting healthy. I think that will help his chances at winning this award. He's a former number 1 draft pick. It's only a matter of time before this guy hopefully shows up for this Detroit Pistons team and kind of gets them turned around. Although I think they are going to have one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA. You look at Cade last year, 12 games played, 20 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 42% from the field, 28% from the 3-point line. You listen to those numbers, needs to be better. It needs to be a more efficient 3-point shooter, needs to be able to space the floor and do his job from outside the 3-point line. And then just continue to be a playmaker for that Detroit Pistons team that's going to need as much playmaking and facilitation as it can get from him. So I do like the odds of Cade making that jump this year. If he's able to score 20-plus points, stay steady with the 6 rebounds, 6-7 assists a game, I think he could be in that conversation with just more games played and a better head coach in front of him. Number 2, I'm going to go with Mikal Bridges, the odds-on favorite at plus 800 for obvious reasons. Obviously, he got traded to the Brooklyn Nets. He became the focal point when he got traded to the Nets last season. 27 games played with the Nets, 26 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, 3 assists, 1 steal, 48% from the field, 38% from the 3-point line. I expect him to keep performing at that rate. Do I think he stays up at the 26 point per game mark? He has the qualities to. I'm not going to sit here and hate on Mikal Bridges. 26 points per game is a lot considering what you thought of him maybe when he was on the Phoenix Suns as just this role player, right? 3-and-D type of guy. He's shown since he got to the Nets in that short span that he can be more than that. I'm interested to see if the efficiency can stay where it's at or even increase over a longer time period. But he has to be in the top 2 consideration for this award going into this season, just given the short sample size that you saw at the end of last season with Brooklyn. Finally, My favorite to win it, obviously, this is one of my favorite. I've already said his name several times on this show. Tyrese Maxey at plus 1,000 to win most improved player. The opportunity is there, and this guy just gets better every single season, and it's noticeably. You look at the 2022 season, 75 games played, 17 and a half points per game, 49% from the field, 43% from the three-point line, 87% from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and only 1 turnover per game. From 2022 to the 2023 season, those numbers increased, right? 60 games played, 48% from the field, 43% from the three-point line still, but on increased amount of attempts, 6 attempts compared to 4 attempts from the season before. 85% from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 4 assists per game. Once again, 1 turnover. And then, of course, the uptick to 20.3 points per game. I expect Maxey in a glorified role this season. No James Harden. I don't expect Harden to be with this team. I don't expect Harden to suit up for the 76ers. And to that point, I expect Maxey to fill that void. I expect an uptick in playmaking. I expect him to be up around 5-6 assists a game. I expect him to be around 25 points per game this year, asked to be the second star behind Joel Embiid. I think it's only a matter of time. The kid has the right head on his shoulders, and he's improved significantly year in and year out. His efficiency is almost unmatched at this level in the NBA. And I expect him to continue that, but along with a more aggressive approach, getting into the paint, getting to the free throw line more is what I expect from Tyrese Maxey this year. Ball's going to be in his hands. It's as simple as that. His role is going to be increased. And we've heard what Nick Nurse has had to say about him. He's going to use him to the fullest extent. I expect Tyrese Maxey to come away with the most improved player this season. Finally, we'll get to the most important award of the NBA, and that is going to be the MVP award. So last year you had Joel Embiid coming away with the award of the Philadelphia 76ers. A lot of complaints about him receiving it. Some thought Giannis, some thought Jokic. Truth is, all three were deserving of the award last year. I think it was just Embiid's turn to get it. I think that's what it was in the voters' minds. If all three of these guys are equal, who is the guy that has not received the award yet? It was Joel Embiid. He wins it. And obviously, I'm fairly happy about that. You come into this season, the 3 favorites to win MVP. Number 1, obviously, going to be Nikola Jokic at plus 450. We know what he does in and out each year. He proved himself more than that. He more than proved himself in the NBA Finals this past season. The only thing I would say about Jokic is motivation. What motivation does he have to go out there and win another MVP or even try to do that in the regular season? Feels like this Denver Nuggets team could be a team that, yeah, they're going to win games in the regular season to keep their seeding. They're going to stay in the top 2-3 seeds in the West. But how hard, how many games is Jokic going to play in the regular season when they just won a championship? That should be the main focus going forward for that team. We'll see how that plays out. I think that could have a factor. Number 2 favorite on DraftKings is Luka Doncic at plus 500. I think Luka has great odds. I think he has a good chance at winning this award. He's not one of my favorites, just given the Mavericks and where I think they're going to finish. Not sure that they're going to make the playoffs. They could make the play-in tournament, but we'll see how that plays out with that pairing with Kyrie. They added some pieces there, but I'm still just not convinced of them being a contender in the West. Excuse me. So Luka at plus 500 is the number 2 favorite. Number 3 favorite is Giannis at plus 550 for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the increase with efficiency playing beside Dame, the floor is going to open up for Giannis. He's not going to be forced to take these jumpers outside as much anymore. I think he'll be able to get into the paint and have a lot more space to work with, having Dame beside him. So that makes sense to me. The way I would order it, my 3 favorites to win the award in order. Number 3, I would say Nikola Jokic. While I have that fear that maybe they don't take the regular season super serious going forward, I still think this guy's a walking triple-double. He's a stat machine. And he plays winning basketball. That's the simple truth at this point with Nikola Jokic. Nuggets are going to win games. He's going to be the best player on the team. He's going to be an MVP candidate this year. My number 2 favorite, man. This is kind of my sleeper pick. Almost feels like he's due for one. Like, if they go by the criteria that, oh, this guy hasn't won one yet, it's his turn, I think it will be this guy. And the guy I'm talking about is Jason Tatum at plus 750 for the Boston Celtics. I do think the Celtics will have a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think they will have a top 3 to 5 record in the NBA at the end of the season. I think the additions that they made between Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis is only going to increase their output as far as winning. That being said, they're going to be competing with the guy that I am predicting to win the MVP this year, and that's Giannis in the Milwaukee Bucks. I think those two teams are going to be going at it in the Eastern Conference as far as who wants that 1 seed. And I think whoever gets that 1 seed will ultimately be the best player who wins MVP because it will be so highly contested. That is why I'm going with Giannis over Jason Tatum to win the award, because I do believe the Bucks will get the 1 seed over the Boston Celtics. I do believe the Bucks have the better team, and Giannis will be the best player on that better team. And I do believe Giannis is the best player in the NBA, arguably between Nikola Jokic and Giannis, I would say right now. I'm going to go with Giannis with the perceived increased efficiency thanks to Dame and that floor spacing that he should see. So Giannis at plus 550 is my favorite to win the MVP award this season, with Jason Tatum following behind him at plus 750 as my number 2 second favorite to win it this season. So once again, just to recap before I get you guys out of here, before I get into that, thank you guys for all tuning in. It's all appreciated. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. That's what this is all about, trying to grow the channel and get in touch with as much of the NBA community as I can. Look, you guys might learn from me. I might learn from you guys. That's why we call it a community. We help each other out. Excuse me. Got an itch in my throat. I'm sorry about that. But nonetheless, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe, and like the video so we get that algorithm working. Let's defeat the algorithm, get this video out here. And of course, in the comments, guys, be sure to share your picks for MVP, most improved player, rookie of the year, defensive player of the year, coach of the year, so on and so forth. You can leave your picks of who's going to win the NBA championship, who's going to be the Eastern Conference representative, who's going to be the Western Conference representative, all of it. This is the time. It's prediction season as the NBA season has arrived, guys. So hit that subscribe button, like and comment on the video. Just to run through my award predictions one more time for you guys. 6th man of the year, I have Derek White of the Boston Celtics winning that award at plus 1,300, according to DraftKings. For rookie of the year, I have Victor Wemby winning that award, running away with it at minus 125, according to DraftKings. My coach of the year, I went with the hometown favorite, Nick Nurse, at plus 1,000. I think he guides the Sixers to at least the 3 seed, maybe the 4 seed, and ultimately overachieves according to the outside perspective. Nick Nurse at plus 1,000 to win coach of the year. Defensive player of the year, a lot of good candidates for this award. I'm going with Bam Adebayo at plus 900. He is the anchor that keeps that Miami defense well-rounded. The versatility is unmatched. Most improved player, a lot of great candidates for this, including Mikal Bridges, Cade Cunningham, Jordan Poole, Franz Wagner, who I mentioned earlier. I'm going with Tyrese Maxey at plus 1,000 to win most improved player. No Harden, bigger void, bigger shoes for Maxey to fill, and I think he fills them quite well. MVP, once again, a ton of great candidates. I didn't even mention Embiid in this conversation. I think Embiid, when you look at him, I think he takes a step back when it comes to the scoring part of things, and I think he starts to focus on the rest of his game. And in that return, I think with the uprising of Tyrese Maxey, Embiid maybe 4th or 5th on that list for MVP, maybe around Luka. Luka, Jokic. I think there'll be 3, 4, 5. Jokic, Luka, Embiid. And then my top two being Tatum and Giannis. I went with Giannis because I do think the Bucks are going to win the East over the Celtics. So I went with Giannis at plus 550, guys. Those are going to be my player award predictions for the season. If you want my team predictions as far as Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals, NBA champions, just check out the Scotty Talks NBA page. Should be the video from right before this one. And of course, once again, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the Scotty Talks NBA community as we try to grow and defeat the algorithm here. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, like, and comment on the video. That's going to be it for this episode, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.